Greetings from the Eccentric Man, and tonight it's a visit to the French-Indian Wars. Stay tuned. The Eccentric Man YouTube channel is kindly sponsored by Lost Ark Games in Stevenage. Check them out online and in store for all your gaming goodies. Tonight I'm playing Martin, and we're playing Rebels and Patriots, and we're playing the French-Indian Wars. Martin's taking the French, and I'm using the British. We're going to be playing Star Spangled Night, and it's a game where we both set up on the same end of the table, but on opposite sides, and we've got to get to the end of the table and escape via the opposite table corner. So at some stage, we're going to be running parallel most of the game, and then crossing over at the end. So it's two pickets that are trying to get back to the main lines after the scouting. It's a night-based game, so for the first 10 turns, visibility and firing range is only 12 inches. After turn 10, you roll a dice and add the dice to the total, and if it adds up to 16, the game ends. To win, you need to score more honour points, and you get honour points for each unit that gets off the proper end of the table for your army, and also if you capture the opposing officer. What I like about Rebels and Patriots is that you can tinker with the units to make them represent much more closely the ones that were actually in the campaign. So with that in mind, I took 2 British line infantry units, those are at the back, a 3rd line unit, but I'm going to treat them as militia, and I've taken them down to timid and green, so they get a -1 on their leadership and they get a -1 on their fighting. They can't charge, I think. And then I've got 2 light infantry small units, so that takes them down from 12 to 6, but they still fight with the 12 dice, but obviously get disordered much quicker. And I've given them good shots, which takes them to shoot on a 4+. So that was my army. Martin went straight from the book, which includes starter armies. So his was the French army, and he had 2 light infantry units, 1 skirmisher unit of 6 men, and 1 large unit of aggressive natives, which have 18 figures in it. The skirmishers were sharpshooters, so they hit on a 4+ and have a longer range. Initial deployment, we set some villagers up in the centre of the board. They're going to be rudely supplied, I should imagine. And then it was alternate deployment of units, starting with Martin as his attacker, and then we put one down. We had to put them within an 18 by 18 L shape on this end of the board. Martin, I think, was looking to run people up the centre and the sides to cause me some trouble, and I was sort of going to do the same likewise. I was going to run my militia, some rangers, and some line up the edge, and then use a line and rangers across to harass. In Rebels and Patriots, you can add a little bit of flavour by rolling for commander traits. So that's what we did. We both rolled a 6 and we both rolled a 5, and we got feared, which meant that if our units was in hand-to-hand, the opponent lost, then the opponent would roll a -1 for their morale test. So both of us have got feared commanders. In Rebels and Patriots, double 1 is never good for activation, and Martin's Indians got them straight off. It meant they had brown trousers, which meant that they would get -1 honour at the end of the game. He also had his one of his units here fail as well. It was his Cour de Bois who failed, so it slowed him down a little bit. On my side, I got a double 6, which was a real bonus. So I had +1 honour from my roll, which was quite a good result. However, my line infantry on this side, the 60th, decided they would fail their activation. So yeah, moving into the next turn, Martin's bad luck continued. His Corps de Bois and Marines failed their activation test, but at least 2 of his units started to move up. His fails gave me a little bit of help. However, on my side, well, again it was mixed fortunes. You can see his troops moving up into the centre and on the side. Over on my side, I was able to move up the militia, the rangers, and the 2nd unit of rangers. However, the line regiments, both of them, failed to activate, which was a bit of a shame. End of turn 3, and a better one for Martin. You can see the Indians moving up to the line of hedges there, and the other unit of Marines pushed up. These ones over here started to put a bit of pressure on. Unfortunately for me, I rolled a double one and then rolled really bad on the test, and it gave me disorder and to retreat, which was not good. The Rangers failed to activate, but we did manage to move the line up and cross the militia and the Rangers into the corn and across the hedge. So that wasn't so bad. So yeah, we were sort of neck and neck for racing up the field. Well, Martin moved up the Indians across into the field and the other unit into the centre near the village, ran his other Marine unit up by the rail fencing to protect them, fired with his Rangers at my line infantry, caused a casualty. I took a morale test and got another disorder marker. Over here my Rangers fired, but they didn't actually do anything, which was a bit of a shame. In the centre, the line troops are up against the hedge, ready to cross next turn, and I've got my militia and the Rangers up and moving. Okay, let's have a look. Martin's activation's going much better. The two units are crossed and moving further up, and his unit of Marines have crossed the fence and are trying to get through the centre of the village. Ranger unit over here has moved up. My line regiment, double one, and the result was a charge, so they are moving towards the nearest enemy. The militia and the Rangers have moved up, and I'm hoping to get them a position to start to be get them in the way to stop the French moving across onto my side of the table. Tried to get a little shot on the Marines on the road, managed to kill one, but Martin passed his morale test. There he is, taking some photos. Over here, I had to rally because of the 2 disorder, rolled a double one, and that gave them another disorder and they were broken. So yeah, problems. Turn 6 started well for Martin with a double 6, and a roll on the table gave him a unit of reinforcements to come on in his deployment zone. Not so good with the unit by the house. A double one, and they got a disorder marker. So not so good. However, the unit in the centre moved into a little bit of cover using the houses. Over at the end, as I said, he had his corps de bois, which I think failed their activation, but he then brought on another unit of skirmishers at the bottom left. I failed my morale activation test, so that was a shame. Moved the line more towards the centre of the road, and rolled a double one for my Rangers, which they meant that they were get a disorder marker, which was a bit of a shame. The militia unit, however, pushed forward, getting towards the hedge line. Bit of an unlucky turn for Martin, double one for his unit by the house, which then on the table gave him -1 dishonour. So that was -2 honour that he was on now, and I was up +1 honour. The other unit of Marines moved forward. We started a little gunfight down on this corner with my Rangers and his corps de bois, but fortunately for me, his new unit failed to activate. I pushed my line up to the fence, so that was getting them a little bit closer into the action. Failed activation on my Rangers, which was a bit of a shame. No, in fact, I rallied them. That was it, to get rid of the disorder marker. And moved the militia up to the fence. They'll cross it next turn. Well, turn 7 started okay for Martin. He moved the Indians up into the woods and the Marines out of the cornfield. But the unit here failed its activation. A double one, and he got -1 dishonour. So he's down -2. Over here, a firefight has commenced between my Rangers, his corps de bois, and the new skirmisher unit. I lost 1 casualty in there, but passed my morale. So that wasn't so bad. Unfortunately, the line failed their activation, which wasn't so good. And also, the Rangers moved up to the hedge. And now I'm paying the penalty for the militia being green and a -1 on their leadership. They failed their activation. Somehow turn 8 has gone astray, but the Indians here have moved out of the wood. The unit here failed an activation test. The unit in the house failed its activation test. Another time, yeah. This unit of corps de bois moved up. The new unit of skirmishers failed their activation test. My Rangers failed their activation test. The line unit failed their activation test. Can you see where this is going? The Rangers did actually manage to cross the hedge and get a shot on the Indians, putting a disorder marker on them as Martin failed his test. The Militia, they failed their activation test. God, what a turn. Turn 10, Martin rallied. Moved up the French infantry with his leader to the fence. These had a double one, and their role was to retreat from the nearest enemy, which was the line infantry, so they actually retreated in favour of Martin and what he wanted, which is amusing. These moved and fired. No, they just fired, didn't they?
Yes.
Just fired, but didn't cause a casualty.
Closing fire.
These failed to hit, didn't they? Or did they fail?
No, they killed one of them.
They killed one of my men, didn't they? But it wasn't enough to on a partial morale test. And then we fired back and killed 3, failed their broken test, their morale test, and by a lot. Rolled 3 and 3 off, it took it to 0. Unfortunately, my line unit failed to activate. My militia unit failed to activate. However, the Rangers did do a bit of shooting. Martin had moved his Indians up and away, but they do have a disorder marker. I did forget to mention that once you get to turn 10, you roll a dice and add that to the score. Once you hit 16, the game ends. The Indians remained in the wood. The Marines are firing away at my Rangers, but didn't do very much damage. The other unit now moving, moved up alongside them to make their way to the top of the table. The Rangers over here have moved up. My line failed to activate, but I did move the Rangers up behind them. And I think they're going to be too late to the party. Bit of a shame, really. On this side, as you can see, as we move around. And unfortunately, once again, my militia failed to activate. This is getting a common theme. The firefight between the Rangers and the Marines was still going ahead. I was losing Rangers more faster than he was losing his Marines. He's moved his other unit into the wood, as you can see the little the guys there. And you can see that the Indians are still hovering. I think he's going to make a mad dash, but he's a little bit worried about my militia. So we'll see how they run. Over here, the Rangers have pushed up into the road between the hedge and the field. And in the centre, yeah, my line regiment failed to move again. So I've hopped the Rangers through the middle. Yes, again, not what I wanted, but they obviously are dilly-dallying around the village. You can see the villagers there huddling around the top. But we still have our militia ready to do. We're going to roll for the game, see what's it, and we move into the last turn. So we shall see what happens from there. What a time for the French to get a double one. So the double one on the unit transposed into a 4 on the table, which gave a charge, and they charged over the fence. I evaded and took skirmish action, took some shots at them, but didn't really do much else to them. Failed the leadership test, the Indians, so they couldn't move, which meant that the unit behind couldn't fire. The unit on this side moved up, took a shot at the lights, the Rangers, and caused them to become broken and retreat. Finally, the lights of the line infantry have moved up the road, a bit lost. And of course, they took an action out of sequence when they took the skirmish action. And again, these failed their activation test and didn't do anything. But now we're going to add up and see if there's any action or honour points to see if anyone won. Totting up the victory points, honour points in fact in this game. I had 2 from different things that happened, and Martin was -2. We got +1 honour for the lack of casualties to units, so I sort of won 2-0, if you call it a win. What we did realise was that the game should have been played on a 4x4 table, So it may have had a much different outcome. But it was a fun game nevertheless to play the game, and I really did pay the penalty for taking a green unit. They didn't like it once they got up to the top of the table close to the enemy. But Militia, I think it plays out true to sort of history in most respects. Martin's double ones for his unit by the house really did sort of scupper his plans because he was trying to use that unit as an ambush unit, and my line unit failing all its activations did really cause him to fail in that plan as well. But there we are. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the game of Rebels and Patriots. No doubt there'll be some more coming at some stage. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. Hit the notification button and subscribe if you haven't already. Until the next time, take care.